Hello, this is Barbara Colm again, and we're here at the Legatum Institute. Finally, after a very successful free market roadshow that we pulled off together with the Green College Group, and I have Thomas Borwick here with me, who is actually the founder of the Green College Group, or College Green Group. Actually, it's are you a green college or a college green?
Because we're probably a college green. So College Green is founded after the bit just outside Parliament.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of square. And that piece of glass is where all the parliamentarians come out to do their presentations. It's where the BBC present from. It's not where the World Service. It's where the international world's media are pronounced. And we're named after that patch of glass because that's where every speech that has impacted the billions of people in this world has been made. That is a patch of glass that has transformed and made our democracy international. That's what we're named after, to do that communication of the politician, the company, and the media. And exactly, you are a strategy, communications, and campaigning consultancy. Yes, so, it's been fabulous fun. And what a great source of ideas the Free Market Roadshow has created. It was amazing to hear the different brands of conservatism, what to do with the environment, what to do with nuclear power, what to do with inflation. And it's entities like yourself that transform the landscape of which we can campaign on. Barbara, you've done an amazing job of that process.
Well, thank you. But it has been always in partnership and always with division of labor, as we all, as free market people and libertarians believe in.
No single man can make a pencil.
No
single person can make that pencil. And you and the cast of thousands that have gone into this.
Well, exactly, it is. And then this is what we have accomplished together this year. And I'm very thankful that you last year said, when you were on our panel, you said, no, let's do this together, and London will be the best event ever.
Well, I thought it was. Absolutely fabulous.
It was brilliant. And as you mentioned, all those different topics that we covered today were just, it was a line of great speakers, a wonderful lineup, and especially the young generation.
Yes.
And I'm really glad that you were pushing for that. You and Maxwell, but also Fred. So
it makes such a difference. It's the ideas of today need to be transcribed into something we can colloquially talk about. And there's a second task of then putting it on Facebook, Instagram, X, whichever activity you then want to do. But it's about creating that ideas that are intergenerational. And many of the things we talked about today are truly intergenerational.
That is absolutely true. And you mentioned something, because this is the last roadshow of this year, that we should toast to that. And thank you for running that.
What a successful year it's been.
To all those who were involved and who joined this great tour, this great program. 37 countries in Europe, plus a couple of states in the US. And it was truly fabulous.
Well, and most importantly, we're cheering those people that will come and join us next year.
Yes, that's it.
Those people that will look at videos like this and go, I want to be part of setting that agenda of the future of the free markets.
Well, let's do that together. So let's come down to politics, to the reality. I think we have an election year.
Yes,
it's super election year.
November the 14th, that second or third Thursday in November is what we're all betting on.
Yeah.
Place your pound now to see what it is. Win that office sweepstake.
Yes. And then we have European elections coming up.
Right.
Well, it doesn't.
Who's going to win?
Well, I hope that the centre-right groups will win.
And do you think just because they win the vote that they will allow to be able to put a designated candidate, or will they have
that there will be another socialist, social conservative mingling again? Well, I hope not. And I hope that the voters in Europe understand that there is so much at stake. Absolutely. It's about our freedom that is at stake, our individual freedom, our entrepreneurial freedom. It's a subsidiarity principle that is at stake. Can you explain the subsidiarity principle, by the way?
In small and simple words, that's a difficult question. But it's about determination. The way I see it, it's about the idea that we can determine single units and what that means for the greater whole. And it's about that idea, unfortunately, we've not done it well in the United Kingdom. Devolution has given different power circles. And we don't probably have the subsidiary principle to the same level as the European would want to see them, because we're not that federal structure. We allow people to fight very differently, different mayors, have appallingly different levels of responsibility. That means that it simply doesn't apply to the root and branch campaigning you have in the UK.
Well, in Europe, it's, if we want something that can be solved on the local level, it should be and must be solved on the local level. Yes. And then on the regional level, and if we can't solve it there, then finally we get it to the national level. But definitely we do not want to have things outsourced to the supranational level, namely to Brussels. And that's what has happened with way too many things.
Absolutely.
So, well, you're out of the European Union. Do you think there is another good chance for Britain to kind of make this up and that your economy is getting kick-started again? Because we all had big hopes that, London will become the next financial center 3.0.
Of course.
And that there will be a lot of investment being drawn into Great Britain.
Well, you might have sneakily looked at your mobile phone today and seen on the OBR reports that, again, our growth rate was increased today. It is very difficult for some of the models that were set under the EU, under the concepts that we've had for the last 20 years, to then focus on what an independent country could achieve. And it's very clear that we need to harness that new growth plan and create that investment. We need the pockets of innovation. We talked a lot today about AI. We talked a lot about productivity. We talked a lot about what it means to have a robot, how you can supplement and enhance, not replace, not automate.
Job enrichment for those who are working on AI.
But how to make it more productive.
Yeah.
And if we can increase that productivity as a country, then it's not 3.0. We want to smash Europe. We want to look at your successes and double that activity, and that would be fabulous, because it's not us versus Europe.
No,
it's us as a culture, as a free market against China, about some of the other cultures out there, and we are the free market roadshow. What we need to show is that actually trade between the two is important.
Yeah.
And we can't be successful without a strong Europe. But we need to know it's the competition outside of our borders to the nefarious influences out there that will be much, much more problematic.
So competition as a key. And since we were discussing Hayek today,
of course,
the 80th anniversary of the road, the road to serfdom, and the 50th anniversary of his acceptance speech of the Nobel Prize in economics. So there is a lot that we can accomplish.
Yes. And it's going to be tough because every 10, 20 years you have that new generation. Circa every 12 to 15 years you have the reset of the memory points. And we need to retell those stories. We always talk about that next generation. But every 5 to 10 years you must make sure you reschool and re-educate to retranslate those great principles. And
also relabel the things properly.
Yes.
So the wording will be different, or is different?
You and I might have used the feelings. Now I hear we use the vibes. And we need to use the words that inculcate that idea so it can be successful.
Yeah. Well, freedom, once it's lost, it's lost.
Yes.
So we need to constantly defend it.
Which is a good and fun campaign.
Oh yeah, I mean, since you're a campaigner, where would you bet on? Who will win the next elections in the US?
In the US, we're betting very heavily on the Republicans to pull through this situation at the moment. It is clear that the candidates are both in difficulty in terms of their popularity with the mainstream voter base. So this is a really, really interesting campaign. I think Trump will win from where we are now. However, it's going to be really difficult for both campaigns to then control the message afterwards. And in America, you have that difficult lame duck period. You have that bit
from November until January 2nd.
And that, I think, is going to be almost impossible for both sides. The transition teams for the Republicans, the transition task force, is gearing up. The fundraising efforts they put into it, the hard work of the Republicans overseas and the international movements for that, and the domestic work within the Republican effort to make sure they have the best and brightest willing to serve. That's fascinating. And it's so very different to many other cultures. The idea that a president can then control the entire leadership teams of different departments. In the United Kingdom, you could see a change of government in November this year. And
last year.
Last year, in the year of our Lord currently,
yes.
and maybe 10 people or 15 people will actually lose their job because we have so few political appointments in this country.
Well, that's interesting. Whereas in Brussels, we have plenty of political appointees.
Yes.
Tons of them.
And maybe that is better, maybe that is not. But it is not something yet the UK has experimented with.
Well, I think as long as we can cut back the red tape and bureaucracy, I think this would be one of the major things to do.
Effective policy making and making sure that the government, whomever they are and whatever stripe they are, it's when you pull the lever and nothing happens. Yeah. And we have a crisis in government competency at the moment, where the government is trying to pull the lever at the margin and effective change is not being made. That is making the UK almost ungovernable. Wow,
that was pretty clear.
Yes.
And it's sad.
It's very disappointing because the Rolls-Royce civil service that we have, the operational proficiency of the country, the willingness to push your shoulder in and to move the country productively forward is getting harder and harder.
Well, we were talking a lot about SMEs today, small and medium-sized enterprises, and how hard it is for them to compete against the big multinationals and the big corporations that can operate this huge red tape and regulatory frameworks, whereas a small and medium-sized enterprise doesn't have the human power, the human resources to do that, and by that it's already outmaneuvered.
And the questions, let's take a government procurement form. Let's take a large company that then wants your every document about where you are with your pathway to net zero, where you are with your employment rights, where you are with your HR documentation, where you are with your apprenticeship schemes, where you are with your net neutrality, where you are with different activities that perhaps larger companies can manage with a team of 5, 10, 20 staff. The idea that a company under 50 people can solve that procurement problem. The MP spoke very clearly earlier about the problem of large house builders.
Yeah.
The idea it was easier for them to have entrenched lobbying teams and campaign teams that stopped the smaller place having 5 or 10 houses being built because it wasn't economically efficient for a large house builder to build the 5 or 10 homes. But yet it is the 5 or 10 homes that is built in every village that might be one of the easiest solutions.
And that might be the change, the difference, that make the difference. Plus, it's good for landscapes, it's good for the green belts, it's good for everybody.
Yes.
Okay, well then let's start. Well, you will promote that, I'm sure, and you have so far. So what are your plans for, the next Free Market Roadshow next year?
I think we're going to have big structural issues, particularly on the right of the Conservative Party. You might have seen the first decision that many people took was actually who was going to be the next leader of the Conservative Party. The question, could they achieve it in one jump or two? Can you jump that chasm in two? It's quite hard.
Well, we've seen that, and it didn't work out well.
And so let's see what happens with the shaping of the Conservative Party. Let's see what international support it can learn. But then let's work out how we can then move people about the structural decisions out there. Let's talk about the road to net zero. Let's talk about the opportunities in it and the costs in it, and to make sure that it is economically and socially acceptable on that journey. Because it's a really exciting journey. What can we do with exporting power to the rest of Europe? How can we make money from the natural advantages that we have of wind?
I like that.
We're not going to make it due to our good solar energy at the moment this week. I fear,
at least if we look outside.
It's cloud outside. So let's talk about not where we are per se, but what we can do to take advantage of it. How can we shape the free market to structurally then look at those things to say, okay, with healthcare, where are we with the system we have now? And what does the best free market system look like? And then talk about that journey. Because often we'll say, okay, the comparison is America. Well, no, there's many free market healthcare systems out there that are not America.
Yeah.
And the great thing you can do, and as an organization, you can lead us to talk about the other ways to do that comparison and then guide us on that journey. Because it's too easy to look at that chasm to say, it might be better, but do we want to take the risk? Yeah. And if we are cowardice in that approach, then we may as well not think.
Yeah. Well, the best practices, as always. We've just had Jose Pinera talk about the pension reform.
Yes.
48 countries by now.
Yeah.
Very successful. Chile is the wealthiest country in Latin America by now, which had been the poorest country.
Of course. But unless you
owners of those pension accounts are sitting on $200 billion. And this is a tremendous achievement.
Yeah. The life expectancy has dramatically increased. Until we have pro-rated and done a percentage of life expectancy, until we as a taxpayer are honest with our citizens, we have a problem. In the United Kingdom are being made projections that are simply unaffordable, unaccountable, and the government can change its half of the bargain. Yeah. We need to set out the principles of what success looks like.
Well, that is exactly what you have been doing with your consultancy and with your work. And thank you so much, Thomas. It's been great. And let's cheer again.
Cheers to your success.
To freedom and to our success.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Thank you.